Welcome to another episode of the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great. I'm joined by my brother from another, as always, MB, the man to be. Oh, man. Um, what's going on in your world, man? Let's tell the people a little update about us.
Just another day. Just grinding, work, trying to have some fun in this period where none of our football teams are playing anymore.
Yeah.
We got no baseball. We got no soccer. We got a little bit of basketball, but as far as the extracurriculars in the sports, it's kind of the slow season. So
Yeah, it is, man. It is. I in my home life, I've actually redone. I'm almost done, but redone a set of stairs for the first time, man. It worked out pretty good for me, man. I'm posting pictures in the Chizat.
do you have to, like, when you say redo, what are you
I
mean?
basically did an overlay. So there's this product called Kappa Tread. So it comes
Mm.
with a tread cover and then risers. So I just had to cut them to size, glue them on, nail, cut, glue, So it was a very lengthy process, but I like the look that's coming along with it, man. So
It's always the fun part about moving in. The unpacking, not so much, but
yeah,
putting a little bit of the your own touch on a home.
100%. Yeah, I'm still in the battle of the box, man. I can't escape it. We got a bunch of boxes still left. Next project is setting up the garage, man. But that felt good. I like doing stuff like that. If I could get my current salary just going around replacing people's steps or toilets or hanging ceiling fans, man, I might go for it.
I got a commode you can replace if you feel so inclined.
Yeah, I get you a bidet in there. Might as well go top level if you're gonna do it, right?
Sure.
It's like $2,000, man. Now there's cheaper ones than that, but I seen one. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
It wiped for you too.
It blows you dry.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
That's
Adjust
bougie.
the air. You get to adjust the air temperature and everything. Don't want it too hot.
Yeah, that's next level.
Yeah, man. All right, enough about toilets. We can talk some sports before we get too far off the rails.
On today's
Uh,
episode of Players Ball Remodeling.
right. Oh man, so the Falcons, we got some news. Bijan is now a Pro Bowler, right? With Saquon making it to the big game, he gets in. So we now have 3 representatives down there in Orlando. It should be a good time and well deserved. Saquon obviously deserved his spot. He had an incredible season, but if he can't play, yeah, Bijan should definitely be next up, being third in the league with rushing. So shout out to Bijan on making it down to the Pro Bowl. When's the last time you checked out like some Pro Bowl events?
It's been a long time. I haven't watched the Pro Bowl. I haven't watched any of the events.
Mm.
I couldn't tell you the last time, to be honest.
So I think I caught some of ever since they changed it to like the Pro Bowl games, right? I think 2 years ago I caught a bunch of the events, right? I remember there was like a moving target throwing. It felt like watching the players play real life Madden, like the little Madden trainings.
Yeah.
So that was pretty dope. But before that, I hadn't watched anything. Me and Brittany went down there to Orlando a few
Mm.
years back. Man, that was a blast. It was actually a lot of years back. It was 2017. We had representatives who were elected, but they didn't play in that game because we were going to the Super Bowl. So that actually was a long time ago. It was like a lifetime ago as a Falcons fan.
You're not kidding. It's hard to believe. Uh, it's. I mean, we're getting closer to 10 years, and you know,
Yeah, decade mark.
yeah, it's sad. We haven't made the playoffs since 18. So
Mm-hmm.
It's been a rough few years as Falcons fans.
We caught a stray during the broadcast yesterday of the Eagles Commanders game. It was pregame even, right? They just went down the list of all of Philly's, last home victories. And I don't know why they needed to go back all the way to 2018, right? They were 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, but they started with the Falcons. They could have went further than that, but they want to make sure the Falcons got their got their lick. So they put and that was a solid game. I think we win. I think it was a jump ball to Julio in the corner that didn't end up happening, and we would have won that game and went back to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, that was under the offensive coordinator that you so much loved in
Sark,
yeah, Steve
Mr.
Sarkisian.
Bubble Screen himself.
He got himself an extension at Texas, so
Yeah, he did. He did.
we shouldn't be seeing him in Atlanta or in the NFL anytime soon.
No, we should not. Is it surprising that Zach Robinson's still around?
Not to me.
Yeah.
So, we have a new defensive coordinator, right? We talked a little bit about that. Well, I think we talked quite extensively about it last week.
Yeah, we did.
But he's just now had some
Argued almost.
debate.
Debate, yeah.
But he's had time now to be fully announced. He's transitioned into the role. He's in Flowery Branch. He's working with the current staff, right? So like he's made his transition as our defensive coordinator complete.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did see an interview. I don't know who the lady was who interviewed him, but she did a very good job asking him questions about, returning to Atlanta, some of the things he's most excited about, and kind of what his vision is for the team and the defense moving forward. And I have to commend her because she didn't shy away from asking one of the tougher questions and just being real, saying, a lot of the fan base or a portion of the fan base isn't real happy with their decision to hire him and his return. And I thought his response was it was good, right? Like there's some politics, some, PC, just, saying what
Coach speak.
Yeah, coach speak for sure. But he said, I needed those 4 years away to really adapt and learn as a coach. And he even went into some mistakes that he made in New York when he took over as the interim head coach, and how he didn't delegate responsibilities. He still took on the 10 hours a week that he was putting in as DC prior to Robert Saleh being fired, and also head coaching. And he just said, he thought at the time that was the right decision to do in order to maintain continuity and, singular voices. He wanted the players still to hear that same voice. But in hindsight, that was an error. And I thought it was kind of refreshing to hear someone take ownership and acknowledge their failures and where they've seen opportunities for growth. And I think from that experience and from the other 3 years in New York, learning from Robert Saleh, which he mentioned a lot, I do believe when he says he's not the same coach he was when he was here before. I do believe that, right? Like we are always changing, evolving, and hopefully improving. So I am somewhat
fingers crossed.
Yeah, somewhat excited. Interestingly, he did say that he would be running Raheem's scheme.
Interesting indeed. That our conversation is playing back in my head after you said that, right?
Yeah, I mean he said it was going to be the scheme would be multiple. It would be a collaborative, a highly collaborative um defense and working relationship, but at the end of the day he's going to try and run, you know, the scheme that Raheem wants to run. But
Hmm,
on game day, he's the play caller. And they
got it.
will work together in developing what the scheme ultimately looks like. But Raheem's going to have his touch on it for sure.
So I haven't looked at any interviews since the I watched pieces of the postseason wrap up with Raheem, and that was before Jimmy Lake was fired. So I haven't seen anything. Did he at any point say that, like, what was Jimmy Lake's? What was their operation like? Was Jimmy Lake in full command? I know he hasn't come out and said that he took over play call towards the end of the season, right? But
I haven't seen anything from Raheem specifically talking about the division of duties for the defensive coordinator last year.
hmm,
All I have seen is um, Jeff Ulbrich specifically speaking on, you know, what his view is and his impression and what he's going to bring coming in.
yeah, the interviewee, just so we can shout her out, is Falcons Tori McElhaney.
It,
Um,
it was
I've
fun.
heard her name before, so
Yeah,
that's why I know
it
how to
was
say
it,
it.
it was funny because at one point she even says like, "This is different from the last time I interviewed you in 2020." So they, you know, have a
Some
familiarity
familiar.
with
Yeah.
each other. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see. He talked a little bit about personnel and evaluations, and you know, did mention that there is a lot of talent on this team, um, but didn't shy away from saying that there's obviously some needs that they're going to have to address, and one of them being the pass rush, and just talked about how important the pass rush is to a defense. He didn't emphasize sacks specifically, but he emphasized getting the opposing quarterback out of phase, out of rhythm, pressures, hits,
Yeah.
you know, all those, you know, buzzwords they like to use.
Hmm. I was listening to the radio show, maybe that was Friday, and the morning show, and they were talking about how the pick should be a pass rush, right? Got to do it. And then Squid combated that a little bit, and I actually appreciated his take. He's like, I just want the best defensive player available, right? Because we have holes at all three levels. Um, and their big best player available shot as far as Terry Fontenot runs things. So I like that, right? I do. I would love to have another dominant cornerback. Obviously, I want somebody who's going to get to the quarterback and get him on the ground, right? But
You
if
say dominant cornerback like we already have one.
uh, someone of his ilk, borderline Pro Bowler, right, as opposed to we got just journeyman in there now, youth that some of them can hit at least, but they're not great with coverage, or safety, right? I remember the days of we've always had like a hard hitting, strong safety, right? Like Willie Moe was a dog. He was putting people on their ass.
Even
Excuse my French, right?
even Ricardo Allen was known
Rico was doing it.
lay in the wood.
Keanu Neal. And Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in the league, but he's a tackler cover guy. Like he's a ball hawk. He's not a punisher. I want somebody to be a punisher out there so that wide receivers think twice when they're coming across the middle or
I feel like
taking an out
a
route.
lot of that is gone from the league in general, with the emphasis of player safety and um, blindside hits and defenseless players.
I think it has, but what I've seen in the playoffs is they are letting them play a lot more. There's some big hits in the playoffs. I didn't think that Patty Mahomes got no crazy calls in the AFC Championship game, right? But some people been getting laid out. That specifically that Philly Commanders game, there was some hard hits.
I don't know like what channels of social media you're plugged into, but all I saw on X were fans pointing out where Kansas City got beneficial calls. Now, not Patty Mahomes specifically, but
he's been the subject of it for a while.
He
is a superstar. He'll get a superstar call here and there, but I don't think there was a call that I remember because I haven't looked at it on social media, but I watched the game. I didn't think there was a call that was just like super egregious.
There was a pass that was called a catch for Kansas City that a lot of people have taken issue with, and for me, it's hard to tell what's going on exactly from the replays, but it does look like the defender basically has almost possession of the ball, and as they're coming to the ground, the Kansas City player is able to get a hand on it, and the ball eventually hits the ground.
Did it hit the ground? You're talking about the Xavier Worthy catch, right?
Yeah, it does hit the ground, but the question at hand is,
was it possessed?
Did he have possession of it? And when it hit the ground, did he lose possession of it, right? Because as long as you maintain possession, it doesn't matter if the ball hits the ground. It's what happens when the ball hits the ground. And if you have possession before it hits the ground. But a lot of fans have real issue with that call and several others that went in Kansas City's favor.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with that one. I thought, big hand beat little hand. You got to get it to the ground. He ended up on his back with the ball, right? I didn't have a problem with that one. I think so. There have been some egregious calls this year for sure, right? We had one against us. I mention it every time we talk about the Chiefs. Yeah, well, one that cost us the game for sure.
The one in the Denver game was probably the most egregious I've ever seen. It did not, in fact, cost us the game. We got flat out whooped.
Yeah. But, they've had some bad calls. That's one thing. So there's a fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's some fire there. But people are also just tired of the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to see them win again. They hate them to the utmost at this point. So anything that they can throw at them, if it's one person that believes that the game was rigged and the refs were fighting for the Chiefs, you can have 100 people jump on board with that just because they hate the Chiefs at this point.
Yeah, and it seems to be a common theme when a team or a group of fans team loses. They like to jump on social media and point out and complain about every single missed call that went against them, but they never look at the other side where it's like, what calls did you benefit from? Because I'm sure there are some, right?
Yeah, and the game was within reach. Buffalo didn't close it out, man. Like that Josh Allen QB sneak. I don't know why they're not as good as the tush push as Philly, but they're not.
Yeah.
Even Philly got stopped a couple times on that pass game or with the Commanders. So it's interesting though.
It is, and one of the other like really egregious or at least complaining calls was Josh Allen on fourth down, where it looks like the line judge spots him the first down. They end up changing the spot. They review it, and they don't give him the first down on fourth.
Mm.
And then I think pretty much the Chiefs took over the game for the most part after that. Now, Buffalo still had opportunities that they didn't
Capitalized on.
capitalize on post that call, but that really swung the momentum in the Chiefs' favor. But, you know, it's a game. The thing that I saw today that was most interesting, and I didn't really intend on talking about referees, but someone pointed out in soccer they implemented a goal kick sensor in the World Cup. I don't know if you recall that in the Women's World Cup,
Mhm.
but it basically keeps position of the ball uh, in regard to the line of the goal.
Mm.
And it's the same technology that's used in tennis to judge where a
In or out.
ball lands. And someone says, we have these in all these other sports. I don't see how the NFL, being the mega sport, mega organization that it is, hasn't found a way to integrate technology to reduce some of this ridiculous bad call, bad spot, poor referees,
Yeah.
judgment calls. Because at the end of the day, we're human. I don't care how good of a ref you are. There's going to be things that you miss. So why not, get it? We're in 2025. Take advantage of the technology that exists. It's an interesting thought.
I don't think they can. They would have to create their own technology. It's just too many people around the ball in football, right? You probably can't use cameras reliably in a lot of those situations. Now, what I do think you could do is, when we're running 5Ks, there's a small chip that's on a piece of paper that tells us when we pass the finish line and when we started, right? They could do that and then just do incremental lasers or whatever throughout the field, but that does sound expensive.
So that was one of the other ideas that was just kind of posed, and that's like put a chip in the ball, have some sort of locating GPS, whatever. You'd have to get something that has a high level of accuracy and precision, but
And it would have to be like a skin almost, because you would want any position that the ball is in, you want the furthest position of the ball, as opposed to if you had the chip in the middle, can it read that the tip passed over the goal line?
yeah, I mean, you would definitely have to do some trial and error and see, you know, what would be suitable. But the point is, and we don't know because we're not part of the league office, but I think it's a valid question, especially from fans, to say, hey, start innovating, start looking at technology and leveraging it to its full extent, and don't just sit pat and accept the current state.
Yeah. And I say it's expensive. If anyone has the money to afford it, it's the NFL.
Right.
They're raking in dough. So no, that's a sound point. We'll see what they do with that. I'm sure that I feel like that'll come before Adam Silver finds a solution to shooting less threes. But before we leave football, there was something else I heard on the radio. There are naysayers about the way we've handled our quarterback situation last offseason. And these particular naysayers were calling for Terry Fontenot's job. We all know the story. You pay Kirk Cousins $50 million a year, then you draft a quarterback with your first round pick. That raised a lot of questions. Now, what we saw during the season, Kirk Cousins went down, whether it was the yips or, what have you. He didn't make it through the end of the season. He probably made it through more games than he should have. But they bring in Michael Penix, and Michael Penix looks like he's going to be pretty good, right? So that changed some minds. So, no, okay, I get drafting him. You knew Kurt was coming off a major injury. You wanted to have an insurance policy for the future. Our insurance policy was activated before most people anticipated. But what this particular person was saying, I don't remember who it was. They said that your best championship window is fueled by having a solid rookie quarterback a solid quarterback on a rookie contract, because that facilitates a lot of the money to be spent on areas of need that will push you over the top. We don't have that money because we have Kirk Cousins money on the hook.
So there's two things just to play devil's advocate. First, on that last point, Patty Mahomes is not on a rookie contract.
He's not.
Is Jalen still on his?
Jalen has been paid.
So your two Super Bowl teams don't fit that same profile. But I do tend to agree that you do increase your odds of building a sound roster by having a solid quarterback on a rookie contract. I do think that is a winning formula, but I don't think it's the only winning formula. The other thing to play devil's advocate is, if you felt like you needed an insurance policy, why did you pay Kurt the amount of money that you paid him? Because that's an awful lot of money to hand out that you're unsure of what the outcome's going to be. Like, that's a pretty big gamble.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And I don't know why they paid that. I don't imagine that anyone else was going to pay that. Like, did we have to outbid the Vikings that much? I don't know what other players were in the race for Kirk.
I don't either, and I don't really know of any other quarterbacks that were on the market that have the profile and the experience that Kurt has. Look, I'm with it. Like, I'm okay with the decision. I think ultimately what made it a failure was the fact that you had to implement that insurance policy mid-season instead of waiting till next year or the year after. But at its core, you said Terry has proven that they are the best available kind of team, and they felt Michael Penix at 8 was overvalue, and they were going to go get the best available, and they knew, like you said, that Kurt was coming off an injury, and that you want to ensure your future. And if that is a franchise guy, even if you don't need him right this minute, you don't know when you're going to have another opportunity. So you just take it.
Don't. We won't this year. All the quarterbacks will be gone before we pick.
And honestly, I don't know if there are really beyond maybe the two at the top. Like, who else are you drafting at quarterback feeling confident that they're going to be your franchise guy? You got Cam Ward, you got Shedeur Sanders. Those are the two names that people feel most confident in. Beyond that,
I'm sure people were a lot less confident in Quinn Ewers after his showing in the playoff, right?
And there's I don't know if it's sealed that he is 100% going into the NFL draft. I know he's declared, but I feel like he still has an opportunity, much like Carson Beck, to remove his name and return to college.
Because they say that there's a lot of money on the line for Quinn.
Yeah.
So I did pull it up, like the 2025 NFL draft rankings. You named the big two, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. But Dylan Gabriel was pretty good. Jalen Milroe, Will Howard from Ohio State. And then, was it just the top 5? Yeah, they just did those 5.
But are any of those guys you're willing to, like, bet your franchise on? beyond the top two?
Um, Bet the franchise on. So this is what's going through my mind, right? We pay Kirk that money. We spend that eighth pick last year on something else, somebody else. Jared Verse, let's call it. And now we're in a position where we need to draft a quarterback. We didn't finish very well. Kirk finished like he did. Do I take a gamble on one of these 3 through 5 guys? Yeah.
But you remember, you already gambled on Desmond Ritter.
Well, you don't think any of these guys will go first round? I think all 5 of them go first round.
I think they will be, because there is that position boost, right? Like quarterbacks in general go higher than what they're really rated,
Right.
because it's, so scarce and it's such an important position. But I
Hmm.
don't know that all 5 of those guys are truly first round talent.
I think Jalen Milroe goes first round.
He does, but I don't think he deserves it.
Well, think about last year. How many people went first round?
But that's
It's
what,
just the standard. I get what you're saying, right? Whether they should or not is one thing, but will they?
yeah,
I think they will.
I think they all go top first round. Is what
Top what?
probably top 15.
Okay,
And
but
that's,
still probably out of reach for us. What, we 16?
we're 15, I believe.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's just the position premium that puts them up there, not necessarily that they're truly a first round talent.
Right.
Now, Jalen Milroe is a crazy athlete. He's huge. He has a strong arm. He's fast, but he's inconsistent.
Better than Anthony Richardson, right? And he went what,
I think,
4th a couple years ago?
yeah. And that's, to your point, to my
It's
point.
exactly what you're saying. Yeah, that's what I say. That's your exact point. But
I think he's not, he doesn't have the same arm talent that Anthony Richardson has, but I don't think Anthony Richardson had the physique and the running. Like, Jalen
yeah,
Milroe could probably play running back in the NFL,
yeah,
but he's
yeah.
not.
He won.
Yeah. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. You were on the side of, if anyone gets fired, it's going to be Raheem, right?
After this year.
Yeah.
I
And
even after what you said about who's the DC?
Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah, what you said about Oberg, I'm doubling down.
And I am of the team that I think there's more pressure on Terry Fontenot than there is on Raheem, because of the decisions that you've laid out and the decisions that were made before Raheem was hired.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get to that. Hopefully we're in the playoffs. We're on a
We got some
roll.
success next year.
Defense is freaking lighting it up. One of the names that I've heard as a potential, and I know that this is way too early rumors, but I think there was talk about maybe Hassan Reddick following Jeff Ulbrich down, and I mean, I think that would definitely be exciting. He didn't play a whole lot last year, right? He sat out a good portion of the season.
Almost half of it. Yeah, maybe even half.
And then once he did play, I don't recall him standing out. But he's obviously had success in this league, so it would be nice to see him in red and black.
I don't know. I think that's a dicey move, considering how the latest free agency signing that you tried to do like that worked out, right? You said maybe it was a scheme thing with Mr. Red Sleeves,
Maybe.
Judon, Matthew Judon, but he didn't work out, right? And he was that same, you didn't see it, but he's done it before. Can you trust him to be able to do it again? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one sack last year. Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
And he played in 10 games. He started 2 games. So maybe it was if you're a dog, you're going to get on the field. And they brought him in to be that guy. I'm not signing Hassan Reddick.
1 year, cheap deal.
Maybe 1 year because he did have 12 and a half, 11, 16, 11. And last year he had one, right? So, but he was on Philly for his 2 of his best years. And
Yeah, we know how they get down.
they got a lot of dogs by all definitions on that defensive front. So, that's going to help him get active.
Yeah, I mean, he benefited from Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham is a dog.
Yeah.
Absolute
He's
beast.
a beast.
A funny story, and then we can move on. I didn't really know much about Brandon Graham for a long time, and then I was playing Madden one day, and I picked him up, and he was my leading rusher, and I was like, oh, dang. Like, who is this cat?
Right.
He's good. And then I started paying attention to him in real life, and like I just realized how much of a dog he really is, and I think he's underrated. Like
I'd agree with that.
he's one of those names. Like, I mean, you hear people talk about him, but they don't talk about him in the same kind of way that Aaron Donald and some of these other superstars, T.J. Watt, the Bosa brothers. Like, you don't hear his name like that, but he's just as much a force, if not more so, than those guys, in my opinion.
Yeah. He's had some good years. Last time he was a Pro Bowl was 2020. But 9.5, 4, 8.5, 8. He missed almost all of the 2021 season. 11 sacks. This year he slowed down a good bit.
He's
3 and
pretty old at this point.
Yeah, he is. He's 36.
Yeah.
He's at our age out there getting active. Still add 3.5 in 11 games.
Yeah.
And he only started one, right? He's not the perennial starter that he was before. That's crazy. His coming out party for me was also on Madden, and I wasn't playing with him. I was in Cali visiting old T. Sherm, and he was playing with the Eagles, and Brandon Graham was terrorizing my backfield, bro.
Who is Sherm's NFL squad? Is it the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he holds them down.
I didn't.
I don't think he's a fan of their more recent moves, but he's still. Last I checked, he was still a Dolphins fan.
I was just making sure he wasn't like Carlos, who just claims a team he has no affiliation with.
I don't like the Eagles. I will say that Carlos has been down with
he has forever.
Crazy man. Did you see like the pandemonium after the game
On the
like there was
group
a
text?
car?
No,
Like,
in Philly.
It ran over like 6 or 7 people. These drunk Philly fans ended up just all popping up. I don't think anybody was seriously hurt, but the driver said it was accidental. Then I saw another video of a hearse pulling up at a funeral home, and they pop open the casket and there's a bunch of Redskins gear in there.
Oh.
Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Philly fans are just terrible people, bro.
Literally the worst kind.
Yeah, literally the worst. Eagles, Phillies, they were booing Joel Embiid at one point. He's like, man, all that I did for y'all, right? Because they hadn't sniffed the playoffs since AI, really.
Yeah.
He took them to, Eastern Conference Finals. He ain't playing a whole lot, though.
No, we just played them, didn't we?
No, we lost back to back to Toronto, team that we definitely should have beat. We're all right. So let's go ahead and pivot because I was about to dive in anyway. We lost back to back to Toronto. We're 4-6 in our last 10 games. So we've been going through this roller coaster of 3 wins, 3 losses, and I think we're up to 4 losses this time. And we're losing to inferior teams, and we beat solid teams, right? If we could just play, a playoff contender every night, we would probably have a plus 500 record. But when we play bums, we play like bums. Now, all of it hasn't been our fault. No, it has been, right? I think I didn't watch the second Raptors game. I was watching the first one. You have a lead. You keep a lead on sorry teams. You're supposed to blow them out. You just keep your foot on the gas. And it seemed like we let our foot off the gas. The second game, though I didn't watch it, same effect. Right, we're up big at halftime, or up big in like the second quarter by like 15. We end up losing that game by like 15 points. Right, we're not supposed to lose to the Raptors.
Yeah, man, it's disheartening to be honest, and it feels like every time I feel good about the Hawks, like I want to give them praise, I want to give them their flowers, and then they just turn around and disappoint me and
Yeah,
play a string of games where it's just awful, like hard to watch, terrible brand of basketball. We
I
lost
know that the Detroit Pistons are an up and coming team, but we shouldn't have lost to them. So those are our last 3 games. We lost back to back to the Raptors,
one of them.
which they're out of the playoffs. And that last, it was a blowout. It was way more than 15. We lost by 21 after being up 15 in the second quarter. Lost to the Pistons, and then that was 4, and we lost to the Knicks, which was a competitive game. The Knicks needed some get back for the dice roll, so that one I got right. We had just beat the Celtics, so I was still on a high a bit, but
We lost by 23.
was it 23?
Yeah. Lost by 23 in the second game. We lost by 3 the first game. We lost by 10 to Detroit and 9 to New York.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's not good, man. We should beat the Raptors. We have to beat teams that are not as good as us because we're gonna run like we're playing Minnesota tonight. That's a tough out. They're not as good. They're not playing as good as they have like last year, but that's still a tough out. And then we get the Rockets tomorrow, and the Rockets are like one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah. We shot in last night, or was it the night
Saturday.
before, Saturday?
Yeah.
We shot 39% from the field. That's awful. 29 from 3 and 68% from the free throw line.
68% from the free throw line is awful. That's atrocious, bro.
And it's been a common theme. We lost the previous game. We shot 73% from the free throw line. Now we did shoot better from the field, but still under 50% from the field is not a winning formula.
No, it's not. Now, the other thing is that our roster is a bit depleted again. Right, we are down Jalen Johnson, who is out indefinitely with a shoulder injury. That's gonna be big, man. So I think Trey has gotten used to having a number 2, and when he's not out there, he just doesn't have that. Right, so we don't have him. We don't have the rook. Zachary Richichet. He's been out. And I don't know when he's coming back. So the lineup we ran out there last night was Trey, Dyson Daniels, which is solid. Those are the 2 starters that we can count on. But Double O, Larry Nance Jr., and Vic Krejci. That's not a championship starting 5.
No, it's not.
By any means. But it's still the Raptors, man. They should have beat the Raptors even with that squad.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're not performing. They're not playing up to the standard. And like I said, it's disheartening because I feel like I was starting to feel good, I guess. We
Mm-hmm.
had won 3 in a row. We did lose a game to the Knicks, and then we just followed that up with 3 more awful performances. And it's like we take 1 step forward, but 2 steps back.
Yeah, I don't know what we do moving forward with that roster, right? I was being a bit facetious. I don't want to trade Jalen for Zion. Jalen's a year younger. Um, Zion has been less available. I would venture to bet. I actually don't know that for sure, but there's something about Zion that I'm still willing to give him a shot, but not at the expense of the rest of Trey's time here. Because at some point he's gonna be like, all right, well, this isn't working. All right, I'm out.
So the trade deadline is February the 6th.
Mm.
You're sitting in that room. What are you doing? What is your outlook for this team for the rest of the year?
Well, I don't think that you have valuable pieces, right? DeAndre Hunter, hell of a year as a 6 man, hurt. Jalen Johnson, hurt out indefinitely. Um, you don't trade Dyson Daniels, you just got him, right? He could be a foundational piece. Uh, Obviously, you don't trade Ricochet. Maybe you can get Clint Capella gone or Double O, but I don't know what you bring back for him. Right? You want to go somewhat young. It's tough, man. I don't know what team is like looking to blow it up, for lack of a better term. They're in a hard spot. Like I was saying, I don't know. I don't know what they do. What would you do? Is there anybody that you would target?
Target specifically?
Yeah.
No. I think as far as a piece, Clint Capella is the guy I think you could move on from. But to your point, what do you get in return? I don't know. I think it is a tough situation to be in, and it makes me just ponder. In the off season for the last year or two, we heard a lot of desire from the fan base to blow it up, hit
Hmm.
the reset button, and you and I both kind of said, no. I mean, we have some solid pieces. You got Jalen Johnson, you got Trey Young, you have a decent core that you could build around and make a championship squad with. However, we're kind of at this inflection point, and as talented as Jalen is, and as exciting of a player he is to watch, he hasn't been consistently available. And we are not the same team when we don't have him on the floor. So you either gamble and you say, okay, well this is going to turn around, right? Maybe not this season, but like the ship is going to right itself, and we're going to get Jalen fully healthy, and he's going to be available for, you know, an entire season. I know that's, yeah, not really reasonable, but let's just say majority of it, right?
It's crazy that that's not reasonable, but
But
I
it's
do
not
agree with
reasonable for most players, right? Like Trey gets an off night here and there. Beyond just
you. Give
your,
me 70 games
yeah, out of 72,
out of 82.
out of 82. Okay. So, I mean, that's still a pretty high percentage.
Yeah,
Um,
that's. I think you get your nights off for rest.
yeah,
Have a baby, right?
maybe not have a baby.
All right, you gotta get back on that court, man. All right,
um,
that nanny, hang out with your kid during the off season.
um, but either way, um, I don't know. Maybe it is time to pivot. Is this team still a playoff team without Jalen?
I think that's what we're about to figure out. Because it's not just him. Without Jalen, DeAndre Hunter, and Ricochet, no, we're not. We're a play-in team at best, uh, and I don't think we may not make it out of the play-in. When you can give Trey Young all of your attention, you can stop the Hawks. And they don't have anybody else that's going to suck up that attention, right? Dyson Daniels is the Great Barrier Thief. He's a defensive guy who's finding his way offensively. But you don't have to dedicate resources or game plan for Dyson Daniels yet on the offensive end of the ball,
Yeah, and
right?
that's not really what you brought him in for.
It's not. It's not. That's not what you're asking him to do.
Yeah, I mean, Double O has shown flashes here and there, and
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Hunter has shown flashes here and there, but neither of those guys is a consistent threat. I'd say 90% of your game plan against the Hawks is stop Trey Young.
Yeah. Now when Jalen Johnson's on the court, that's a whole different ball of wax. And it looks like Trey is not playing tonight either.
No, I had heard that he's dealing with his own ailments.
Yeah, you got Keaton Wallace, Vic Krejci, Ricochet is back, which is encouraging. David Roddy and Onyeka. I don't think Clint has been hurt. Maybe he is on the block
He's got to be,
because he
right?
played very limited minutes the other night too.
I mean, you're a little less than 2 weeks out from the trade deadline. So, with the woes we've had, yeah, you don't want to risk injury for him. But
Yeah, he's got 2 minutes tonight.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's still half a season left, right? I mean, a little less than half a season left to play. So a lot can change. It's not quite to the level, in my opinion, of baseball where I feel like every night for months on end you're playing, and the emotional ride that was the Braves season last year, where it's just like constant peaks and valleys. I felt like bipolar at times.
Yeah, yeah. No,
They could
it's
be
like neck breaking.
they could be so frustrating. The minute you would feel like that team was back at the level you expected, they'd turn around and just fall flat.
8-0 to the Marlins,
Yeah.
right? We lost to a lot of bad competition. The Braves did last year too. One of the more frustrating things. I hate when
And the injuries, right?
play
Like
down to that competition. Oh yeah, the injuries were killer.
you get one guy back and then another guy would go down. So yeah, that was frustrating. And I don't think the Hawks are quite to that level of frustration. At least not for me. But they're approaching it for sure.
They did get DeAndre Hunter back tonight as well, so that's actually encouraging, very encouraging.
Yeah.
Now, Dyson Daniels ain't play, so maybe this is the Braves roller coaster that you just talked about, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do. Like I said, we got a little less than 2 weeks. So maybe this time next week we'll have some trade rumors or some trade executions to discuss with this team. But I don't think I would want to be in that position of GM for this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like well, I don't know how hot is that seat gonna get, right?
I don't know.
You do have an ownership group that doesn't want to spend any money.
And you do have to look at the moves that they did make, right? Like, sure, the what's his name? Experience didn't pan out with
DeJounte.
DeJounte, thanks, DJ.
Mhm.
That experience didn't pan out, but it looks like you nailed it with the um, Great Barrier Thief
Yeah.
and the little pieces that you have plugged and played.
Yeah, before he went down that first time, Larry Nance was actually contributing. He was playing some great basketball. So it's good to have him back. Obviously, we don't, I don't want him sound kind of in the starting lineup, right? I want him to be a great piece off the bench because if he's starting, that means that we're down somebody.
Yeah. And I think that has contributed to the overall ebbs and flows of this team, and the lack of consistency is they haven't played too many games where they've been at 100% full strength with this
Right.
roster. Now, losing a Larry Nance is way less impactful than losing DeAndre and Jalen and Trey for
Yeah.
stints, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But
I don't know. I was looking at the teams there in the bottom of the standings right now. You got Portland, who they drafted Donovan Klingon. They have DeAndre Ayton and they have Robert Williams. Robert Williams doesn't seem like he would be much of an upgrade over Clint Capella, if at all. He honestly feels like a downgrade. DeAndre Ayton would be an upgrade offensively. Um, Maybe they would part ways with them.
I couldn't
But the
see
other teams that are down at the bottom aren't. They don't really have anybody that I would even want, man.
I couldn't see Klingon being on the block just because he's a rookie.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be. Wouldn't think we could get him.
But I do think he would bring some offensive um, firepower at that position, right? Like he's a much better shooter than Clint Capella.
Yeah.
But and he's just long and alienish. He's much taller than Clint Capella.
Yeah, nah, he's long. You got the Pelicans down there. They don't have a piece besides Zion. They had to give Zion plus something if they wanted Jalen.
I don't know that I move on from Jalen though.
I don't know either. It's tough because when he's playing, he's a dog. You don't accidentally average 18 and 10.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
18, 10, and 5.
he's a beast. Did you see
He's shooting 50% from the field. His free throw percentage could be a little higher, 74. But
Did you see the dunk the other night?
Jalen's done.
Yeah, just nasty went up and boomed on somebody.
I remember one in the Knicks game. Was it that game?
No, I think it was in the Raptors game. And the first Raptors game where it was nasty. He tried to do it again later in the game and it got blocked.
Really?
But yeah, he's a baller.
All of his numbers are up from year to year. It's just constant progression, right? And that's what you want to see.
All his numbers, including games missed.
Yeah, that's trending in the wrong direction. 22, 70, 56, and he's at 36 this year. So he should be able to eclipse that 56.
No, we don't want to.
30 plus. No, he play more.
Oh, you talking about games started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we want him to beat the games played for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to go up in that.
Yeah. But yeah, so there are some newcomers coming to the city. Some old faces, some new faces. Hopefully the Hawks will be adding some pieces, but until we have official word and the trade deadline passes, we can at least talk about the guys that are coming here and here already. So first, the old faces returning. It is now official. Miggy is back, baby. How you feeling about that?
I mean, I'm excited. I know he was a fan favorite. I was always more partial to Mr. Martinez, but I always liked Almiron. And I think Atlanta United needed a fresh boost of enthusiasm. I think that he can deliver that, right? To get the fans back in the building. Um, the five stripes are back, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not baby, but maybe.
Not baby, but maybe.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think if nothing else, it's going to add a level of excitement that the team was missing. The fan involvement, interest has definitely been on the decline the last several years, and bringing a household name like Miguel Almiron back, and I think it's everything I said last week. Um, it's the association of him and that championship run that everyone is going to have that memory of. That's going to bring that level of excitement because there's going to be that expectation that he's going to bring that level of play back to Atlanta. So we'll see how it plays out, but I do think if nothing else, it will get the fans back in the stadium.
Yeah, having home field advantage back will be advantageous for sure.
Now the United did have a tune-up game, preseason game against Chattanooga, not an MLS squad, and we lost 2-1.
Oh
no! And that's without Miggy, right? That's without any of the without a full squad from the transfer market, as well as players that are coming off of injury, or we weren't 100% strength. It's a tune-up game. You don't want to lose those, but at the same time, it's not the team that you're going to see play when the regular season comes on. So I wouldn't read too much into it. One thing that was kind of encouraging is our coach came out and said that we were passing the ball backwards way too much and that he got bored at one point.
Same attack, huh?
Yeah, so I think that's encouraging. Like I like to hear that from the head coach. Just saying that they got to play a better brand of ball, more exciting, faster pace. And our head coach has MLS experience. He's had a lot of success in the MLS, so I am excited to see what he brings to the table as well. And then we got a new a GM this year, so a lot of new faces in that organization, and hopefully it's all good from here on out. Still waiting to see if they bring anyone else.
The deal on Latte left.
I have not seen a final official announcement yet, so still waiting to hear that. But if they don't sign him, I couldn't see them standing pat not bringing someone else in, because you don't just, designated player spots in the MLS are gold, right? You only get so many, and to not utilize them would be an absolute crime. So they'll bring in another designated player. It just depends on who it's going to be.
Yeah, I hope it's that guy from, just what they were saying, how talented he is. So we will see what they say. I wanted to bring him in. I thought one of our first games was against Montreal.
Our first home game is Montreal FC.
Okay, maybe that's what I read, yeah.
Yeah, it's February 22nd, I believe, in the bins. I said it last week. So if you haven't seen that video, go watch it. And you can find out all the details on when Atlanta United's playing. But the other newcomer, we like to kind of play a little tongue-in-cheek about AA and his successes and failures, and his lack of moves this offseason. Well, the Braves have finally done it. They finally signed somebody. Jerickson Profar, most recently was a San Diego Padre. He was an all-star last year. Had a breakout season for a guy who's been in the league a little while now and, has been below average. Just to be blunt. But he did have a breakout season last year. Was incredible. He was a big part of the San Diego Padres team that left us in the dust in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
So I am
He
excited.
participated.
Yeah. He is fast as lightning. He's a switch hitter, and he plays both outfield and shortstop, two positions of need. I think he played left field for the most part, and that was a big position of need last year. We had Jared Kelnick that we brought in that had some ups and downs, more downs than ups. He's still a young guy with a lot of promise, but his bat was very inconsistent and at times one of the weaker links. And then you had Orlando Arcia at shortstop, who had a down year from his previous year, which was a career year.
All-star, yeah.
So it's kind of nice that Jerks and Profar can step into either one of those roles and provide some depth at those positions. I do expect him to be a starter. I do expect him to start at most likely left field. He should start most nights at one of those two positions. So we still have those guys on the roster. I mean,
yeah, Jared Kelnick and
Orlando Arcia.
We do have Orlando Arcia. They mentioned somebody else in left field, Brian De La Cruz, that they were platooning it. But yeah, no, I think you bring him in to start as well. And that's going to be a super defensive outfield, right? They should be able to cover every inch of ground once Ronnie comes back healthy. Money Mike was a dog out there, right? He robbed a bunch of home runs. He filled in admirably for Ronnie when he went down. So do you put him in center and Ronnie in right?
Ronnie is a right fielder.
Yeah.
Jerickson's left field, and Money Mike is a dog, and he's a center fielder. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
so he's got the speed that I saw some of it, right, when they played us in the playoffs last year.
You could also
that they put down on us.
You could also put Jerickson in right potentially, or Kelnick in right, and play them both. It'll be interesting. I don't know what the timetable is for Ronnie, but I have seen him, batting and different things.
Hitting dingers.
Yeah, well, hitting. I don't really show you what he's hitting. But he's
I saw video of him, but he was blasting them balls.
Good, because we need it. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of expectations now. There have been a lot of talks amongst, us talking heads, not anyone from the team, but I could see a world in which you want Ronnie to pinch hit and not play outfield, right? You're coming off of 2 ACL injuries. His biggest weapon is his bat and his base running. And if putting him as a DH and allowing him to do those two things limits the opportunities for him to re-injure a knee or injure the other knee, I see it as kind of a smart move.
I think it limits it as far as like general steps taken, right?
Yeah.
But he injured himself on the base path last year. It wasn't that he was.
But he injured it the first time in the outfield. So he's done it both places. And I get what you're saying, and I agree. But sometimes just limiting the pure number of opportunities, right?
does that limit? Because you know I mean I've seen Ronnie take some plays off, especially in the outfield, right? But for the most part, he's going hard. Um, Seems like the hardest he goes is running the bases. I don't know if you can have a designated. You do have designated runners, right? But
Once
you don't want
once
to take him out of that.
once you pinch run, they're out of the
They're out of
game.
the game. Yeah, no, I forgot about that.
I think the hardest conversation would be having that talk with Ronnie and trying to convince him not to play outfield, because I feel like he is a true competitor and he wants to be out there. But from a standpoint of I need your bat and I can't afford to lose you, I would much rather sacrifice your outfield skills and your arm than lose you as a bat.
But that would mean Ozuna has to play defense. Where do you put him?
Or you move on from Ozuna.
Hmm. I
It,
mean, he's under contract though.
he is, but I mean, players are tradable, right? I mean,
They are.
I think the biggest need at this point for this team is pitching, right? You lost Max Fried, you lost Charlie Morton, which were two of your starters, and you really haven't replaced them. Now, we can argue or we can talk about whether or not Charlie Morton was a productive starter. That's a whole nother question, right? Like, I think he was a 500 starter, but you haven't really replaced him. Or Max Fried.
Have
No.
you kind of have, right? By the return of Spencer Strider, so you got Spencer Strider, Schellenbach, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez. So you want like a guaranteed fifth starter?
Yeah, and you really don't know what you're going to get from Spencer Strider, right? He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. I mean, I hope for the best, but I also would hedge my bets.
That's smart.
Much like the Kirk Cousins decision, right? I think it's a little bit more crucial, though, from a baseball pitching standpoint, right? You only have one QB on the field. You have several starters. You throw a new one out every night. So adding depth to that position is not as crazy of a thought as holding two starting quarterbacks.
We have a lot of prospects still too. Like they saw sometime last year. You don't think any of them get another crack at it, like AJ Smith-Shawver or Hurston Waldrop?
I think they do. Maybe at different points in time, and I think part of why AA hasn't. I mean, for one, we have an ownership that doesn't want to spend.
Cheapskates.
I wouldn't call them cheapskates. They're still one of the top.
Yeah.
They're
Look
still.
at Ronnie's contract. Look at Ozzy's contract. All the contracts. I mean, the more recent ones they've done okay with, right?
At the time
Austin Riley.
at the time that they signed Ronnie, that was a groundbreaking contract.
The time, but 10 years, $100 million, or was it 8 years, $100 million?
It was 10 years,
It was
$100 million.
quickly eclipsed by the next year's free agency signings. That's a very team-friendly deal.
It was a team-friendly deal, but it was also a guy who was a rookie that was still had several years that he could have been forced to play out on a rookie deal. So what they did was they offered him $100 million guaranteed and an earlier next contract.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying, that they weren't just blowing money.
No,
right?
but
You can get somebody, even if you think you don't have the you can't see in the crystal ball to say exactly what it does, but you think that he's going to be a beast.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of signs.
They got away with one. Right.
There was a lot of signs pointing to Ronnie being a beast and a future MVP, but it wasn't guaranteed. And even now, like, we don't know what we're gonna get out of him. He hasn't played 2 of those years, full seasons, because he's
Yeah.
blown out both knees, or the same knee twice, I should say.
Is it the same year twice? I thought this last one was
I'm
a
pretty
different.
sure it's the same knee. I could be wrong.
You know who I have concerns about is Chris Sale.
Being able to
Incredible year. Yeah, will he be able to replicate that?
who knows? I think he will, just because he's done it multiple times in his career. Um, he was,
Does he have the ability to? Yes, I'm more worried about the injury risk. You know.
yeah, he's getting up there in years.
Yes.
But I think
But you want
so.
to add an arm for sure.
Our payroll. Sorry to take it a step back. Our payroll is still, I think, in the top 5 highest payrolls in the MLB. So they may be cheap, but they're not as cheap as some of these other teams. No one is to the level of the Dodgers, as we've discussed many times.
The Yankees. I mean, it's deferred money, so the Yankees are actually up. They're number one.
Yankees
Oh, and the
and
Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Astros. So the beginning of last year, we were eighth.
that's still,
Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies. It is top quarter of the league. Astros, Rangers, Blue Jays, then us.
what is it going into? Where does it stand today going into next year? It's
I
still up
was looking
there.
at that article.
But either way, I mean, they're cheap, but they're
24
not
stuff.
absolute penny
No,
pinchers.
when you have, I still think they are. When you have a certain level of talent, you do have to pay to retain them. And then hit, we've seen them release players or let them walk. Players who they thought were above their dollar price, their dollar amount, right? Dansby, Freddie, and Max Fried, they all walked for more money. They weren't going to spend that. No one had any fantasies about them matching like Max Fried's contract because the Braves are cheap. The Liberty is cheap.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay to keep a Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies. But if you're making decisions on who you are or aren't going to pay, and they are one of your best players, I think you're cheap.
The Freddie deal
This year
was
was 6.
different. I see 8th as our current, like, the MLB team salary payroll tracker. I see LA.
236,433,901.
So that must be more recent because this is only at 200,265,000. But this list also has LA at number 1, Philly at 2, the Yankees at 3, the Mets at 4, Toronto 5, Texas Rangers at 6, Houston at 7, then us at 8.
See, this has the Dodgers at 5, above us at 6.
What is
This
the
Mets,
total?
Yankees, Houston, Philly, Dodgers, then us. And the Dodgers' total payroll allocation right now is $240 million.
It's interesting how many different resources say different things.
Yeah, I like Spotrac. That's where I go to look at, pro athletes' money.
That was what I
But
was looking at, yeah.
oh well, you know what? I can put it to 25. Okay, I was looking at 2024. At 2025, LA is number 1 and we're 8th. Yeah,
Yeah.
200 million, and they're at 290. Philly's at 279. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, all of the teams around have added pieces. We've stayed pretty much pat, and Now we'll see. I do think one of the things that played into us not signing a another starter is you've got guys like Ian Anderson who really don't have any service time in the minors left. If he comes up and can't get it done, like that's basically it for him, for us at least.
Yeah.
So I do think that they're gonna try and spin the tires on those guys and hope for the best. So
I mean, just circling back to the rookies from last year, AJ Smith-Starver had some good starts. Now he had some bad ones, but he had some starts where he looked like he could be, every fifth day starter.
I think Schwellenbach was the better, much better of the two.
Yeah, but he's a starter for sure. I counted him.
Waldrop, didn't get a whole lot of starts.
Yeah.
But I still think those guys need more time. And honestly, AJ might be a better middle reliever guy than he is a starter. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we still got a ways to go before opening day. It's usually in April, so we got 3 months just about. So still time to add.
Yeah, just looking at the transactions, we can't go through all of it, but it does seem like a lot of people, the Twins, haven't really done anything.
All your contenders have made moves, right? All your contenders from last year have improved.
Both New York's, the Astros, they made some moves.
The Phillies.
The Phillies.
Of course, the reigning champs have spent bags and bags and bags of money. So
we have more subtractions than acquisitions. Got Jerickson, Profar, and Brian De La Cruz, but we lost Jorge Soler, Travis d'Arnaud, Max Fried, Gio Ursula, Charlie Morton, AJ Minter. Likely going to lose or not re-sign Jesse Chavez, Adam Duvall, Luke Johnson, Ramon Laureano. I don't know if Whit Merrifield makes it back either.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even see much of the field. Some of those guys were just additions because you had to fill injury spots. So not all that surprising, but
we traded for Whit. I would think that they would want to do something there.
Yeah, I don't know that we gave up anything real significant for Whit Merrifield. But
yeah, that's fair.
We are past our target as per usual. So, just take the time to say appreciate everyone listening. Go ahead and smash that notification bell, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and follow us on the other socials. You can check them up here in the upper left-hand corner. We are on TikTok and Instagram. And
we got an X coming too. That's something that we're gonna do.
The tweet is coming. Be on the lookout. But we appreciate all y'all. Give us some comments and tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll be back next week with another one. And another
Catch
one.
y'all on the flip. Another one. More records.
Peace.
Peace.